And you were like, this is the reason I do it. Like, why would I not hustle to be a saint harder than these athletes are hustling for the glory?
The heavy lifting is done in the interior life. And that's the heavy work. That's the heavy lifting. And we need to be spending the lion's share in that world if we're going to be fruitful like John Paul II was.
Okay, so when we spoke, one of the things, when I cornered you in the retreat center, and I was like, tell me your magic ways. One of the things that you said was, I don't remember why Kobe Bryant was the person you picked, but I remember distinctly what you said. You said, if Kobe Bryant hustled so hard for his perishable glory, I should work even harder for my imperishable crown. And I was so struck by that. I then did Bible in a year and heard it in the Bible. But I still think the fact that you integrated it so well that it came out so spontaneously, and you were like, this is the reason I do it. Like, why would I not hustle to be a saint harder than these athletes are hustling for the glory? Whew, that was powerful. I vividly remember that. So could you talk a little bit about how this discipline has affected, well, you mentioned a little about your personal life, but I'd still love to hear more, and also about your prayer life. Like, how has this discipline, I guess, had an effect on your fight for your imperishable crown?
Yeah, no, with Kobe, it was beautiful with Kobe Bryant. His last meal before he passed away was the Blessed Sacrament. That's the last thing he had, was communion with his daughter before the helicopter crash. And so, obviously he had his ups and downs in life, and a Catholic priest helped him through some of the scandals in his own life. But, he was there. He was the kind of guy, first guy to practice, to get there, last guy to leave. He was opening the gym and closing the gym. It was kind of the Mamba mentality. And I'll see that. Tonight I'm going to the Phoenix Suns game with my kids. They're playing the Brooklyn Nets in town. And I coach our 7-year-old basketball team. And so we got passes to go to the game 2 hours before it starts. We get to go in and watch the players warm up. And so this is 2 hours before tip-off. These guys are going to be grinding and sweating and working hard, and we get to sit right courtside and watch all these guys work out. Cool. That's 2 hours before the 2-hour game. And, that doesn't include the physical training they're doing in the locker room beforehand, and afterwards the stretching and ice baths and all that stuff. And this is for what? This is to put a ball in a basket. Like that's the goal. And then you get a ring, if you win the championship. And so you look at that, and they kind of put us to shame. The level of discipline that even the lowest level professional athlete puts into their craft, because what you're watching when you're watching a basketball game, you're not really watching the game, you're watching their practice. You're watching what's under that iceberg of all the years of free throws they've shot with nobody watching, with no crowds. If there wasn't that underneath, there'd be nothing at the top. And so I think it's got to be the same thing in our own exterior works we're doing for the church. That's got to be the little part that peeks out. There has to be something a lot bigger than that underneath the surface if it's going to be stable. And so you look at someone like John Paul II, exteriorly, he did a lot of amazing stuff. Traveled the distance from here to the moon 3 times, visited 129 countries to spread the gospel. They used to joke in the Vatican, what's the difference between God and Pope John Paul II? It's that God is in all places, but the Pope has already been there. And so this guy was not passive, but he was primarily interior, not exterior. And so I think we need to make sure that we're spending adequate amount of time working on our own interior life instead of focusing on success and doing an apostolic work. There was a priest through the Theology of the Body Institute, I remember, that told Christopher and the team, and he shared with me, the priest said, hyperactivity in the apostolic life is a sign of spiritual laziness. Sit on that. Hyperactivity in the apostolic life is a sign of spiritual laziness. The heavy lifting is done in the interior life. And that's the heavy work. That's the heavy lifting. And we need to be spending the lion's share in that world if we're going to be fruitful like John Paul II was.